Super Bowl. But in this game, obviously Sproles Sproles' absence impacts the Eagles two ways, in the run game and then in the punt return game. To me, in that opener, he still looks dangerous. He still looks like the kind of guy, when you punt to him, he could go the distance at any time. He's always getting positive yardage. He always somehow finds a crack to get upfield and pick up some yards on a punt return. And one of these times that thing could break wide open and he could return it for a touchdown. So I think his value will be missed more in the punt return game. So now you don't know who you're going to put back there. You might put Corey Clement back there to return punts, but he's going to be a guy they're going to lean on probably on Sunday in the run game. You might put a guy like a journeyman like DeAndre Carter back there, who is a great story, 25-year-old kid, wide receiver, was cut 5 times before landing his job with the Eagles. He lost his younger brother, who passed away to a disease years ago, and he promised him that he would make it in the NFL. And, here he is, 25 years old, being cut by 5 teams, finally got an opportunity. He was on the field for over 50 snaps against the Falcons, only caught 1 pass. But, he's a speedy, quick guy who's the gunner on the punt teams, and, he might get an opportunity to return punts. So that's kind of the Eagles' injury. They have another kid, Shelton Gibson, a receiver who returns kicks for them. He practiced on Friday, but he's listed as questionable with a knee injury. I suspect he will play. If not, you might see Nelson Aguilar, the receiver, returning kicks on Sunday. So those are the 2 real main injuries, other than, Wentz, obviously, and Alshon Jeffrey, who is catching passes. He suited up in practice for the first time this week. He could be on track to return maybe next week with Carson Wentz at quarterback against the Colts. They might get a big boost if they get those 2 guys back. But other than that, the Eagles are fairly healthy heading into Sunday, which, you can't say the same for a lot of teams in the league. Already after week 1, some of these injuries have taken their toll. The Dolphins lost their, one of their offensive linemen, a key piece. And, you see Joe Mixon now after week 2, he's got to have a scope on his knee, a running back who's a big part of that Bengals offense. So, injuries are starting to take their toll already on teams across the league. And I mentioned Tampa Bay. They're going to be without Grimes, and Vernon Hargraves is out for the year. And, Jason Pierre-Paul for the Bucs, their defensive end, he's questionable. And so is Deshaun Jackson, who had a concussion after week 1. Pierre-Paul's injuries in knee. They're both listed as questionable, but they both did practice on Friday, so I expect that they'll play as well, just if they will be 100%. That's the question. So, already here we are week 2, and guys are still starting to feel the bumps and the bruises and, everything that happens in week 1. It's why, I just don't begrudge these guys anything for what they get paid, because they really put their bodies on the line week in and week out.
Well, absolutely, and it's going to be a hot one for you guys who are on the road as well. Down in Tampa, supposed to be around 90, 95 degrees. That always comes into play when you have the heat, and certainly not having the home field advantage. Yeah. The Tampa Bay, talk with us a little bit about the game preparation for Tampa Bay, their defense. I know you guys are known for your trick plays. Tampa Bay is not known for their trick plays. I think the last time they did a trick play and it didn't even work was when Lovie Smith was their coach in 2014. We know that the Eagles aren't afraid to do some trick plays. It helped you win a Super Bowl. Thoughts on game plans, on how you might catch the Tampa Bay Buccaneers off guard, and what are some of the key points that the Eagles have to do, and quite frankly, what does Tampa Bay look like as an opponent to the Philadelphia Eagles?
Yeah, you made a great point with the weather. It is going to be hot, humid, in the 90s. The Eagles like to rotate their defensive line to keep them fresh. That is the strength of this defense for the Eagles, is their offensive line. And, I know the game, when you game plan for a guy like Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's 30 plus, 35, 36, however old he is, he doesn't have a lot of mobility. So if you can win your one-on-one matchups as a defensive line, which the Eagles can do pretty easily. They made life pretty tough on Matt Ryan in that opener. Matt Ryan was never really to look like the Matt Ryan that he usually looks against most teams, because the Eagles just really rattled him. They sacked him 4 times, but there were so many pressures they had on him and forced him to throw the ball at odd angles. So, the Saints weren't able to pressure Fitzpatrick at all last week. That's why Fitzpatrick had such a big day. That Saints defense, to me, everybody likes the Saints to go to the Super Bowl, or I should say some people thought they could get to the Super Bowl. But, unless that defense obviously improves, they're not going anywhere. Whereas the Eagles, their defensive line is their strength, and I expect them to win some of those one-on-one matchups on the Tampa Bay offensive line and make life difficult for Fitzpatrick. If he has time, he's got a great receiver core to throw to. I mentioned Deshaun Jackson. He's got Mike Evans, who's one of the best in the league, and, Chris Godwin, another receiver out of Penn State, second-year guy, has shown some flashes, and they got the big tight end from Alabama, O.J. Howard, who's starting to come on. So he's got weapons in the pass game. And so if he has time, he's going to exploit that. Of course, the Eagles did do well with their secondary against Atlanta. Julio Jones had a pretty big game, but the Falcons have a good receiving core in Jones and Mohamed Sanu and Calvin Ridley, the rookie from Alabama. And they did nothing, and that's because Ryan just couldn't find anybody other than Julio Jones in that game. But the Eagles secondary did well, so they're going to have to match up well against this receiving core that the Bucs bring in. And then if you're the Eagles offense, I think you want to take advantage of those rookie cornerbacks, and you want to give Nick Foles some early, easy throws, get him into a rhythm. He's a rhythm-type quarterback, and then run the ball. It's going to be hot, like you said, and I think the Eagles' offensive line is the best in the business. I really think it's the best offensive line in the league. Tends to get better as the game goes on. We saw that against Atlanta. They started to run the ball more effectively in the second half. They made some adjustments at halftime, but I think, again, it was just a case of a more physical offensive line wearing down a smaller Atlanta defense. And, I think that will be the kind of the recipe here is the Eagles will run the ball. They'll get better at it later, and that offensive line will take over the game.
Talking with ed-kracz, beat writer for the Philadelphia Eagles Sports Exchange. We'll give out that website again here in just a minute. Ed is our official NFL contributor. Talking the NFL week one going into week two. Real quickly, I really don't mind touchdown celebrations. You probably know where I'm going with this. But did Marcus Peters take it a little bit too far? The NFL apparently thought so as they fined him $13,000.
Oh man, I missed it. I didn't see that touchdown celebration.
I'll get it out to you. It was probably obscene. Would probably be the let's just say there was some acts of fornication looked like was going on there. So.
Well, that's not good. I mean, you can't do that. I mean, we saw last year Odell Beckham, right? Didn't he crawl on all fours like a dog and lift his leg like he was going to the bathroom, and he got fined for that. So, I mean, the NFL has loosened its rules on the celebration, and we saw the Eagles, take full advantage of that last year. But their celebrations were clean, pitching the ball, making like a baseball team or bowling the ball, and doing the, one of these dance steps. I think I don't know, Macarena maybe. I don't know what the heck it was, but. The Eagles took full advantage, and the NFL loosened its rules, but you can't do that stuff. You can't do that X-rated or, offensive lifting your leg like a dog going to the bathroom type stuff. I mean, you're going to get hit with that, and that's just common sense. And look, Marcus Peters, he's had some issues before, right, with run-ins and stuff. I think that was one of the knocks was his character issue coming out of college. So, it's a shame he did it. But the NFL did the right thing finding him. You can't, I didn't see it, but if it wasn't what you're saying, then you can't do that.
I'll get it out to you. That's for sure. And you can certainly Google it and find it on Twitter as well. But $13,000 out of his paycheck. What he did, let's just I'll try to explain it in the most non-graphic way. He basically grabbed his junk. Can we say it that way? And so we'll leave it at that. Let your imagination go. You can Google it. So his junk cost him to pay dearly for that. I think it's
I see it now. I'm sitting in front of my laptop. I see it now. Yeah,
you're there.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, can't do it. Gotta do a little cleaner.
I gotta go a different direction.
Yeah, he's got some good elevation when he's doing that. He's about 5 feet off the ground, but
you can't do that.
Do it. No.
Classic infield celebration. I always remember two of them. I always remember was it Ezekiel Elliott that jumped into the
trash can or whatever. Yeah, what was that?
No, the Salvation Army thingy. Remember?
Yeah, right. I remember that.
And then there was the guy with New Orleans that picked up the cell phone. Remember that? He had a cell phone down, and he scored it. So, you never can tell. Well, let's cut all around the NFL here, and Mo's going to be joining us here in a few minutes as well. But I tell you what, we saw the Bengals. Well, we saw the Bengals win, and, certainly Jack dropped the ball, which caused the fumble recovery, which caused the touchdown, which caused the Bengals to win. Okay, that happens. But then we saw the Bengals win yet again this week. So they're 2-0. Mixon's going to be missing two weeks. They're starting to have a very loud roar, if you will, in the AFC North. What say you about the Cincinnati Bengals?
Well, you can't start any better than they have, 2-0. That's all you can do, and that's where they're sitting. But I'm not really completely sold. I like their defense. I do like their defensive front. Missing Mixon will hurt. I know it's just a short-term injury. It's a knee clean out. I think you said 2 weeks, and that's probably about right. So we'll see what happens, over those next 2 weeks when he is out. I'm not real too familiar with their schedule, but we'll see. I think September in the NFL is just kind of, finding out who you are as a team and, try to stack as many wins together as you can during that time. But I don't think you can really know what a team is until you turn that page and head into October. But, right now I like the way they look. I'm not a big believer in that division that they are in. I don't think it's that good. I think we saw the Steelers kind of lay an egg in Cleveland. Cleveland could be good. They have a tough game in New Orleans this week, so we'll see, how they respond to that tie. And, Pittsburgh has their hands full to try to stop that Chiefs offense on Sunday, and we'll see if they can do that. I know normally the Chiefs don't play well, in the Heinz Field there along the Three Rivers in Pittsburgh, but that's a dangerous offense they're going against, and Big Ben's not completely healthy. I think he has an elbow issue. They're without Le'Veon Bell again. So, to me, that division, the AFC North isn't very good. Could the Bengals be the best in that division? Yeah, I guess they could be. What does the winner of that division look like? 9-10 wins maybe. So, the Bengals are tracking in that direction. But, again, we'll see, once things start to really kind of head into the fall a little bit more.
How good is Joe Mixon? I think a lot of people didn't like his off-the-field characters, if you will, but I guess that could be spoken for a lot of people on the Bengals and the NFL for that matter. But certainly on the field, Joe Mixon appears like he's going to be the real deal for the Bengals.
Yeah, he does, and I really wasn't sold on that when he was coming out of, I think it was Oklahoma is where he played.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't real convinced, but to me, sure, he looks great. He looks shifty, but again, you have to stay available, and already here he is with a knee injury. I think he had, a little bit of an injury issue as a rookie. So, you really have to be able to stay healthy to be counted on, and if he can stay healthy, yeah, he does absolutely look like the real deal to me. And like you said, there are a lot of players in the NFL with character issues, and the Bengals took a chance on him, and so far I think he's stayed pretty clean in that area. And if he can stay healthy, yeah, he could be one of the better running backs in the NFL.
I'll tell you what, last weekend, watching Sunday Night Football, I saw the second coming of Jesus Christ. Aaron Rodgers coming back for that magnificent win. Then on Monday, we realized that Aaron Rodgers is a mere mortal, and it was not the second coming of Jesus Christ, which you certainly would have thought that it was. Did the Green Bay Packers make a mistake in letting Aaron Rodgers come back in? Even though it was a magnificent win, even though it's one for the history books, it was only game one. Did they make a big mistake in letting Aaron Rodgers come back and finish that game on Sunday night?
That's a great question. I mean, I was thinking that watching it, I don't know why they're doing this. The guy was, clearly dragging his leg, and then, afterward, if you saw his post-game interviews, and I saw it on, later in the week, Googling it, and, it looked like he was as high as a kite on painkillers. They probably fed him with painkillers and threw him out there. And I was wondering, what is the severity of that knee? Could he have risked further damage? I don't know. They're calling it a sprain. But, yeah, I think it was the wrong move. It was